Jaja. Oh, thank you, Jenny. Yes, this is being recorded. Thank you for that. Let me just say continue on that. Welcome on this chilly winter's morning on another session, information session presented by Multiprof Property Intelligence. This morning, listing information at your fingertips. We basically are going to look at the websites that you can use to collect information on your listing even before you go out to the property. I see some familiar faces. Sean, I think this must be about the 15th presentation that you attend. I hope you still learn something. And thank you for everybody joining us. We're going to try to finish in about 45 minutes. We will have questions at the end of the session. So let's first go through this process. And then if you have questions, just post it in the chat box, or at the end, you can ask them, or if we don't answer your questions properly. Okay, just a bit about Multiprof. I see there is a question asked, and it's nice to see that there's quite a bit of new people that's not aware of what we do. So I'll just want to share with you. Let's just see where we are now. How do I get, there we go. Multiprof Property Intelligence. I'm Aubrey Snyman. I'm a town planner by trade. Multiprof Property Intelligence is about 22 years old, 23 I think we're going for. And we provide town planning services, building plan services, architecture. We're also involved in valuations and property inspections. We can assist you with anything on the engineering side, environmental. We also do property and municipal facilitation, where we get information from council for you. And so today we're going to look at websites that you can use. And specifically, we're going to look at the Swanee for the first part of the session. So we're going to look at the Swanee GIS system, but at the end, we'll also look at some other websites. I see there's people from outside the Swanee area as well. You need to just go to the website of your specific municipality. Most of the municipalities have GIS systems whereby you can get information. It might be a bit different, but they're fairly easy to operate if you understand the concept of it. Okay, I see there's about 40% of people that have heard about Multiprof Property Intelligence before and that might have dealt with us. And so welcome to the other 60. We hope that we can assist you in future, making your job as a property practitioner easier. Okay, let's see. As we all know, being a property practitioner means that you have to have knowledge about the product that you are selling. Jenny, if you can put the next poll for us, please. And I see there's still some people that needs to be admitted.
Aubrey, if you can just share your screen. We can't see it as yet.
Oh, I haven't shared my screen. Okay, well, that helps a lot. Okay, let me go back to, okay, there we go. That's the previous slide that I thought you were seeing and you didn't. So that's all our divisions, all the services that we rendered. And let's go back to the front one first, the listing information at your fingertips that we discussed. And can you see it now, Jenny?
Still not, Aubrey.
Still not. Okay, well, let's go to screen 2. Sorry, let me just quickly see why we are not. Can you see it now?
It's starting, so we'll see it in a second. There you go. Thank you.
Okay, let's go back again. Okay, listing information at your fingertips. There's all our services. And the first very interesting and useful website that we have is the Swanee website. And going to the website is fairly easy. All you have to do is go to Swanee, and it's Swanee GIS meaning Geographical Information System. And that is the website where they keep all the information on properties, or lots of information on them, and they are expanding on that. So what you have to do, go to Google, type in Swanee GIS, and then you will see Maps and GIS City of Swanee. You can click on that, and that should take you to, let's just see.
If you just want to share it from the current slide, then it's a bit bigger, then we can see it.
Okay, let's just see if I can share. It's not on. Is that better?
It's still the small one.
Okay, let me go back. I'm just going to stop this share and just see if I can get the proper share. Seems like, where is, okay, I think it must be that one. Is that better?
Perfect, thank you. Yes.
Okay, there we go. Okay, sorry about this. The technology still seems to not be perfect. Okay, Maps and GIS, we said. So type that in, and then you will, it will take you to a page looking like this. Very important. There is I accept terms and conditions. So you need to click that. Otherwise, you will not be able to enter the website. And then you want to view some information. So you'll see there is a block where you can click, let me just go on this, to say that you accept the conditions, and then it will take you to, I just want to close this. Okay. It will take you to a page, and on top you will have home, search results, maps, help, and you want to search because you have a specific property and you want information on that property. If you click on the search, it will give you various ways that you can find the property that you're looking for. The one that works best, I think in your case, would be one of the first two. It would be the earth number and the portion number. If it is if it's a property that have portion, and the township or the farm name. Township meaning the suburb as registered in the deeds office. In this case, we used portion 1 of 931 Menlo Park. If you don't have the earth number, you can also go to the one on the right, and there it will give you the street number and the street name, and then again the township or then the suburb as we know it. Sometimes the street numbers are not 100% accurate, so it's very good to have the earth number and the portion, just to make sure that you have the right property that you're talking about. Once you have submitted this information, you will click on the submit query, and it will take you to the next page where it will give you some information on the property already. It will give you the street number. So even if you didn't have the street number before, it will give you the street number, the correct one. And it will give you also the legal size of the property. So that would be the same area that would be in the title deed. And sometimes more than one property will pop up depending on the information you put in, and you need to select the one that is applicable, and then you go to select, zoom to map, and it will give you a property with a blue line around it, and then you can check that that is the property that you're dealing with. And then you see right on top in the right-hand side is a layer manager. Now, information on the website is comes in layers. So each set of information is put on a layer, and you can choose which of those layers you want to use, what information do you want. And just a word of warning, if you try to put on too many of the layers simultaneously, you will find that there's just too much information on your screen, and therefore it's advised that we do them either one by one or a maximum of two. You'll see later when it comes to zoning and the spatial development framework, regional spatial development framework, it's all colors. So if you put colors on top of colors, eventually you can really not understand much. So the first one is the base map. So that would always be on, and there you can get the property that you're talking about. And then you see there's a few on the top, on the land information, there's some information that you can obtain there already. The first thing would be, and if you click those blocks, it will give you sectional title schemes. So it will immediately, you'll be able to determine if you're dealing with a full title property or with a sectional title property. As you see, the one that we have selected is blank, so there's a full title. But then over here, you will see, like on this 877, you have this little indicators of how many sections there are on that property. On this 877, there's a duet because it's two sectional titles. On the one next to it, it seems like there can be 3 or 4. And then you already know you need different sets of information before you list the property. Then the second one or third one here is multiple service points and restrictions. Now, the restrictions is interesting to take note of, although it is not a full set of all restrictions that might occur on the property, but you will see there's areas that's indicated with pink lines or with the whole area. And that just means that there's either some servitude, some areas that cannot be developed, but it doesn't give you the reason or what it is, but at least it will make you aware that you should delve deeper into the information on the property. And we will see later on that it is quite important to know, because often sellers have built some structures in restriction areas, and of course that can be very problematic. Then the next one is the one that you all know and that you will find on Google Earth, fairly similar, although it depends on which year the photograph was taken. On the Swanee website, the latest photographs is from 2018. So it's fairly recent, and therefore it is valuable to have a look at the aerial photograph. It will show you where the buildings are. It will show you some entrances and things like that. And firstly, over the years, I have noticed that sellers love aerial photographs of their properties. They like to see what it looks like from the air. And sometimes I think it is a good point of connection. I have seen people that when it's a dwelling house would have a look at it and say, oh, there's my car, or there's the old car, or and I think you're building connection with your seller and your buyer once you can include a color copy of the aerial photograph. And as I said, from there on, there's lots of other information that you can that you can access. Let's go to the next one. Now, under services, and that's where I said we must be careful not to overlay too many colors. One of the important pieces of information that one should supply a potential buyer with, and that can make your professionalism shown, is showing the potential buyer what will or what can happen in future in the area where the property is. Now, for that, council develop, and it's updated every 5 years, what we call a regional spatial development framework. This is just a section out of the plan, and obviously it goes with documentation explaining it. And over here, you will be able to go to your property and you will be able to see, firstly, what type of activities council will support in future on your property, and then more important, what is happening in the area. In this case, the blue will indicate mixed uses, so a variety of activities will be allowed there. The blue will be offices. The yellow is low density residential. The orange will be medium density residential. So if your buyer is interested in staying in a quiet residential area, although for now this whole area might still be single dwellings, that is not the place where you should try to sell him a property, because in a few years' time, he will be surrounded by medium or high density residential developments, some business, some offices, and things like that. So it is important to have this information, and as we can see, it is freely available on the Swanee website. You just have to go to services, click on the 2018 Regional Spatial Development Framework, and obviously part of being a property practitioner is studying how these plans work. It's not difficult. Understand what it means when we talk about offices or mixed uses. When we talk about low density residential, meaning up to 25 units per hectare, Or when we talk about 100 units per hectare, that would be medium to higher density. And so you will be able to explain to a potential buyer what is going to happen in future. This is not far from mainland area, so you can see there's quite a variety of land uses. If you go to residential areas, it would be one color or two colors at the most. And then, of course, zoning as well, but we'll get to that. You'll be able to see, so you can compare the existing zoning with the potential of the property as stated in the Regional Spatial Development Framework. And therefore, I think you can impress a potential buyer or a seller with the information that you have about his property that he might not have himself. Okay, and then if you go to services further, two very important areas, and that would be linked to servitudes normally, would be if you click on sanitation and you click on storm water. Now, those colors, and over here it's indicated in brown and in green, that will indicate where municipal sewers was installed and where storm water pipes have been installed. Now, why is that important for you as a property practitioner? Well, one of the biggest problems that we have from our office side, and we do quite a bit of as-built plans, people should really be very careful when buying into property that all structures are legal. And in our office, we find that over years, many structures was erected illegally without building plans and without approval. And unfortunately, when structures have been built over either municipal sewers or storm water, it is almost impossible, and often it is impossible, to get those structures approved. And therefore, it's important that before you even take a potential buyer to a property, that you do this homework. And of course, you need to obtain approved building plans and certificate of occupancies for your potential buyer. But on this website, you can already, even before you list the property, you can take note of where municipal servitudes are registered. As I said, the brown would be your sewage, the green would be stormwater. And if you compare this with your aerial photograph, you'll often see that these lines is covered by a structure. In that case, you need to take extra care to get the proper information and make sure if plans was approved, because once you have shown these structures to a potential buyer, of course, that is what he expects to buy if he buy the property. And often when we assist sellers to draw up new plans, we need to inform them that certain structures needs to be demolished, and the problem come in when you have already shown this to a potential buyer, and he is buying the property because of those structures. Often it is things like lapas and carports and additional garages that have been built over servitude areas. And then you sit with a problem whereby you can't offer your buyer what you showed him when you took him out the first time. So these things should be done as soon as possible. And as we see, it is just a click away on your on your computer, and you can impress your seller with information that he might not even have. This is the aerial photograph, and this is just a typical example where you will see a structure and you will see the brown line of the municipal sewer underneath the building. Just be aware that there might be a problem. Because aerial photographs are not 100% correct because of the angle of the plane when it takes the photo, it is not always 100% accurate, and sometimes this the building might be a meter or so away from the border, and there may be the 2-meter servitude is adhered to. So just be aware of it and tell your seller that there might be a problem. Don't take him on if he tells you no, it is legal and so on, but be aware of it and make double sure that the building plans indicate the structure and that a certificate of occupancy have been issued to make sure that the structure was built where it is indicated on the plan. We had cases where a draftsperson will move the structure on plan, although the structure is built over the servitude. And of course, any plan that's approved that way is null and void and has no legal bearing. So you need to make sure that your buyer is protected by doing this background study on the property itself. Then the next one that is quite important is the zoning of the property. I'm sure all of you know that zoning just means what activities are allowed on the property and how much of it. Your typical yellow is residential 1, and that is typical 1 dwelling unit per earth. So whenever you have a dwelling house that have 2 or 3 flats, or that is used for a guest house or used for offices, if it's not in line with the zoning certificate, of course, then you have a problem at hand. And then you should be very careful not to make a misrepresentation to a potential buyer. Once you tell him that, listen, see, there's 3 flats, you can rent them out, your income can cover your bond, and it is illegal structures, it is a misrepresentation, and the buyer can cancel the deal because you have misled him as far as the use of the property, because it's not allowed in the zoning. So, and you see that the colors again, if we go to the next slide, you see the legend. Now, where do I find the meaning of all these colors? And that would be on the right-hand side. Remember, we said we had the layers. If you click the one next to it, that will give you the legend, and it will explain all the colors that we've seen before on the map, even on the RSDF. So you'll see over here, yellow is residential 1, residential 2 is yellow with the white line through it. Residential 3, that is your typical...
your slides are not moving.
Is it not moving?
No.
Oh,
we are.
sorry. Oh, okay. Is that moving now?
Yes, there you go.
Okay, sorry, thank you. Sorry, okay, this was the picture that we've referred to. I don't know why it didn't move. This is the picture we referred to where municipal sewer is running under a potential building, so that is problematic. Just make sure. This is the zonings that we refer to, yellow residential 1, and you'll see what it means in the next slide over here. Residential 1 is the yellow ones, the ones with the stripes is residential 2, typical group housing. Residential 3 would be duplexes. Residential 4, blocks of flats. Business 1 is your retail activities. And there you, from this legend that you'll find next to the layers, you can get the information on what the zoning is. Now, when there's things like a guest house or a creche or things like that, we need to obtain a copy of the zoning certificate. The zoning might still be indicated as Res 1 because that is still the primary right, but there's an additional consent on the property. So in those cases, and in most cases, it's a very good idea to obtain a copy of the zoning certificate, include that in the information that you present to a potential buyer. Then a buyer can never come back and say you have not informed him of all the information on the property. There's obviously a lot more, but this is the basics of the GIS system for council, and that is applicable in Swanee, obviously. In other areas, it will be similar, but just slightly different. Now, there is obviously more websites, and we're going to look at another one, the Chief Surveyor General, where we can find diagrams, we can find general plans, and we can get sectional title plans. Now, with diagrams, we refer to Surveyor General diagrams, and that would give you the area of the property and the sizes. Let's just see if we can go to the next slide. First, let's see how we get into the page, and then we can go into that. You'll type in Surveyor General, and then you will go to a property search, and then you will get to obtain documentation on the size and the shape of the property and various others by using the property description or the document number that we will get to. Let's just see. Okay. Once you're in the website, you can search for the property, and it's important. You'll see on top the province. I think most of us would work on Gauteng, and then is it an urban property or a rural property? Once you click on that, you need to put in the earth number. They refer to a first parcel number, but that is the farm portion or the earth or the township, or for sectional title we'll get to. And of course, if it's a portion, you put in the portion number. And then it will come on completing the data in the previous slide. If you do the search button, a screen similar to below would follow, and then you can see which of these are applicable. Unfortunately, it will come in a TIFF format, so you should download to the folder designated for downloads on your computer, and make sure that you can open TIFF files on your computer. Now, this is an example of the SG diagram, And why is it important for you to have a copy of the SG diagram? Well, that is the legal portion, legal piece of land that you are selling. And often when you list a property, you might be shown something different. Areas where it is particularly important is where there used to be big pavement areas, and the owner have moved the boundary wall to extend his property into a municipal area that was set aside for road widenings, or in cases like servitudes, ESCOM servitudes, we find it often where we have the cables or the overhead cables. Owners just move the fence to enlarge their garden areas. And of course, if you make a presentation to a potential buyer that this is the property that he's buying, and it would show later that portions of that does not belong to the seller, but that he have moved the fences, that also is a misrepresentation, and therefore it is of utmost importance to get a copy of the SG diagram. It will give you the distances, it will give you the shape of the property, and often it's easy to see that the shape is not the same as the shape of the property that you're dealing with. We had cases before where a seller was next to a park, and he just moved the fence of his property to include a piece of the park. Now, immediately when you look at the SG diagram and you look at his property, you would see that the shape is not the same. And then you can make a potential buyer aware of the fact that this is what he's seeing is not all what he's buying. Okay, and then the same, we said there was two ways from the image search page. A second option is available for search. I think you won't use that very often, but it is possible to do that. I think the first option would be the easiest one for you. In this case as well, you need to find the key, and you put that in. So we're not going to spend much time on that. If you need more information, you can send us a mail and we can send you the information. Sometimes the information of the surveyor general diagram comes in the form of the general plan of the suburb. Like in this case, we have the Volgers, and your property will form part of the general plan. So if you don't get that one pager that we looked at before, it will form part of many urban, but all the information is on there. There you see the distance, the street front, 27.46 meters, and the depth. And it will also give you the square meterage, 1223 square meters. So that is when it's in the general plan. And then let's just see how much time we have left. We have a few minutes. Very important when you deal with sectional title properties, complexes, duets. It is of utmost importance to know what you are selling. And in a sectional title, as you know, you can only sell what is indicated on the sectional title plan, and therefore it is not even an option to start dealing with a sectional title unit without having the sectional title plan. Now we can get the sectional title plan as well from council, or from the website, and it will indicate the different pages. The first one is the block plan, indicating all the structures on the property. Secondly, and I think that is where it's becoming important, you are only selling your section. Let's say it's section 6. That is what you're selling. If there's a garden attached to it, if there's lapas attached to it, if there is Wendy houses attached to it, and it is not indicated on the sectional title plan, or some exclusive use areas are indicated, you can only offer what is indicated on the floor plan of the sectional title plan to your potential buyer. The seller might tell you that there's a carport that is his, and there's a lapa that's his. If there's no proof of it in the sectional title plan or in the rules of the complex, if we talk about exclusive use areas, it is common property. So let's say in this case there was a carport in front of section 6, and you can't find any references on the sectional title plan or any references to it in the rules of the complex, then it does not belong to the seller. It's common property, anybody can use it, and you can lose the deal, or you can be sued for misinformation should you offer this carport as part of the unit that you are selling in the complex. Let me just go there. Then the last page would be the participation quota, and of course that is how the levies are determined, and therefore it is important to make sure that your sectional title plans are up to date. The banks more often now than not insist on up-to-date sectional title plans and building plans in complexes and for the wets. So if this is not up to date, you stand the chance of doing all the hard work, finding a willing buyer, willing seller, and as soon as they apply for a mortgage on it, the bank will say, sorry, we can't do that until you have updated these documentation. That can take up to a year if we need to first update building plans and then the sectional title plans. So it is important even before you go out to the property that you make sure exactly what it is that you're selling. In practice, in our office, we on a regular basis deal with property practitioners where this have not been done before, including looking at illegal structures. And it is so sad when there is a willing buyer and a willing seller and the deal can't be successfully executed because the documentation is not in place, or misrepresentations have been made because the property practitioner did not have this information when it was listed. Often the seller will not even be aware of things like that. It might be that a property was bought with illegal structures or already with the boundary walls moved. Now, unfortunately, the moment that anybody takes ownership of a property, he takes ownership of all the problems that ever existed. So if somebody bought the property without approved building plans, without occupational certificates, without checking the surveyor general diagrams, without checking the participation quotas, without making sure what is on the sectional title plans, the new owner is responsible for everything that was ever wrong on the property. And therefore, it is now the responsibility of the property practitioner as well, that is now a professional person, and that should ensure that a buyer is not negatively affected when he buys the property. And therefore, using this information that, as we see, is fairly easily available, is of utmost importance. It's going to become more and more difficult to deal with properties, to sell properties, if you don't have this basic background of the product that you're dealing with. So where in the past estate agent was more a salesperson introducing a buyer and a seller to each other, a property practitioner now is somebody that have in-depth information about the property. And therefore, we already see that more property practitioners insist that properties is inspected by professional property inspectors, that valuations are done by property valuers, and all these information are obtained before a property is dealt with. So I think that's about what we have time for today. Any questions? Jenny, did any questions come in?
Aubrey, one of the questions is there a function available on other municipal websites?
Yes, on most of the metropolitan areas it is. I am not sure. The smaller municipalities is not that up to date and may not have that. Best is to go to the municipal website and type in GIS or similar or aerial photographs, and it will come up, or just try to get information from the town planner. They normally would know. All the big places, Cape Town, of course, have the municipal areas, Johannesburg, and definitely have. They just operate slightly different, but some of the smaller places would definitely not be up to date with those things. The information is still available at the local authority. It's just not in a GIS system that is so easy to obtain as we've seen now.
All right, good. Then the other one is, where do we get the certificate of occupancy from? Okay.
Certificate of occupancy is kept with the building plans. Now, of course, it is not the responsibility of a council to keep copies of building plans or certificates of occupancy. It is always the owner's responsibility, and therefore it is vital that building plans and certificate of occupancy move from seller to buyer. That have not happened in many cases in the past, and now it is of critical importance. And so if you can't find a copy, you need to apply for one. We assist many sellers to obtain that. It can be costly. You need building plans that's up to date. Then you request from council for the building inspector to come out. You will need certain certificates from an engineer, from a plumber, from for gas, for a few certificates, and then he can issue. It can be issued. A new one can be issued. But again, that's why it is important that a buyer get these documentation, that he does not become liable for it and he have to pay for it. So yeah, very few owners at this stage will have copies. In future, I think it would be standard procedure, and we will never advise a potential buyer to buy any property without approved building plans and the certificate of occupancy for all the structures. You know, often when we are approached to redraw building plans or to make additions, the seller would have indicated that he has plans. And then eventually when he brings the plans, it is plans that only have half of the structures on. It does not even have a stamp on. So it's not even a valid building plan. And therefore, it is important for property practitioners to learn and understand how building plans work, how occupational certificates work, what to look for when you are presented with an approved building plan, so that you can make a call on it and say, well, this is definitely not acceptable, or otherwise, in the meantime, refer it to knowledgeable people. We gladly assist with these type of inquiries, and make sure that you do not negatively impact on your buyer in future.
Okay, thank you, Aubrey. There's one more, no, there's two more. How do you sell a property if the address is written in multiple ways or differ from the municipal bill to Lightstone, for example?
Addresses are problematic in the sense that a property can have more than one address. The address is basically a way to identify a property not for legal purposes really. So especially where you have a corner stand or you have big properties, they often can have more than one address, one on each side, if it's a corner on two streets, or even different numbers on the same stand. So it's always important to use the earth number, the correct earth number. That is a legal number that cannot be changed, and it's always the way to identify properties. If there's more than one, let's say a street name with two different numbers, it's not really going to make a big difference as long as you have the correct earth number in your contract or your OTP. And there would normally be, the number would be on the outside for somebody to identify it. But always use the earth number. And that's why we also ask, if you send us any inquiries, and there you'll see our email address if you have any inquiries, or our phone number, always use the earth number. That is 100% sure we can identify it and we have the right piece of land that we deal with. If you give an address, it is not always 100%. So use the earth number, then you're safe.
Right. Is there any other questions? I'm sorry, there's one more, and Aubrey. Can you see the electricity network somewhere on the system?
No, unfortunately not. Purely because it's like water as well. You know, water pipes are easy to move internally. They would normally run in the street. And so no, in Swanee specifically, and I don't know of any of the municipalities where you can see that. Often it is still overhead cables, and they can be moved, they can go anywhere, and they will normally not even be safeguarded by servitude and things like that. So no, there is no way that I know of where you can pick up normal electricity cables or even water pipes, except the major water pipes that would obviously be protected by servitudes. The servitudes you will find mostly on the website as we looked at it, but also it is important to get a copy of the deed of the property, and in the title deed you will find additional servitudes for municipal purposes, for instance, for major water pipes and things like that.
Thank you, Aubrey. There's one more on the GIS. Can we get ID numbers or of the owners?
No, unfortunately not. And now with Poppy, of course, there's even more complications. There is some information that used to be available on the valuation roll that is also on the website, on the Swanee website. We haven't covered that today. But with Poppy now, I am not 100% sure how that will be dealt with. There are so many questions about Poppy Store, what can be made public and what not, but it's not on the GIS system itself. The GIS is purely about structures and zoning and things like that, not about ownership of any specific, or the owner itself. It's on the land parcel and not on the owner.
Good. Thank you, Aubrey. I don't know if there's maybe somebody that still wants to ask a question. I know we at 10 o'clock at the moment, so you're always welcome to send Aubrey an email or to phone him. He's really well informed in his industry and well known, and I'm sure he will be able to assist you. Is there somebody that wants to ask a question? Then you can just unmute yourself.
Yes. Hi, it's Dolly. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, yes.
Okay. Whose responsibility is it to hire an inspector or a structural engineer for a house that is on sale?
There's no legal requirement at this stage that it needs to be done, but for you as the property practitioner, if you have any doubt or you want to make sure that you don't make a misrepresentation, or that you can check that your buyer is safeguarded, you can tell your seller that the best price that he can obtain for his property is when these questions that there might be from buyers is answered even before the buyers, you show them the property. So yeah, sometimes it's difficult to convey this message to a seller because he don't want to spend money on it. But if he understands that the value of the property may be pushed down because people have their doubts on the structure of the building or on some illegal structures, that might be a way of persuading a seller to obtain an engineer certificate, for instance, in cases where there's cracks or where there's moisture issues. So yeah, only when the seller understands that it is in his interest, he will give you the go ahead, but you can discuss with him that he might get, or he will get, a better price if things are corrected, and therefore you need to have professional input on the specific property.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone. Aubrey, thank you for the valuable information. We will definitely get you to do another session on something else that is in your field. We always love your presentations. From me and Wimpy and Rich and Rulien, just want to say keep safe out there, everybody. And let us know if there's any legal questions regarding your contracts. We will gladly assist you with that.
Thank you very much. Yes, and you're welcome to send us any questions or to contact us, and we will try to assist you to make your life easier.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.